Jared Kushner is the named person in the whistleblower joint. Jared Kushner. He don't work for us. We never wrote him in. He's not appointed to a government job like Steve Witkoff. But here he is. He's in a whistleblower complaint that's so devious that they've locked the physical copy away and deleted the made up stuff. That's what I'm starting with today. But it's not. But it's not the mind blow that it should be, because we've all seen this coming. Homeboy left the White House. Homeboy got $2 billion to do what? To do what? What I think about is when Superman died. I don't know if any of y'all remember that. I'm an old head. I remember when Superman died, it was an event. And then you got Kid Superman and Black Superman and Robot Superman and I don't know, Elvis Superman, bunch of Supermans, whole handfuls of them. We got Supermans abundant right here. Funny. And that's kind of what happened when Jeffrey Epstein died. Everybody took a piece of the web. Everybody took a piece of the web and started running with it. You know what I'm saying? As the picture's opening up, we're looking at Epstein as a hub, which is our conversation. But as it's starting to open up, the hub was Donald Trump. And the Epstein world was a symbiote that went on to it. When I say the symbiote, a symbiote has its own content, context, and dynamics, and it clings into. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, Jeffrey Epstein is so different. It's the same thing, but that's what makes a symbiote. You know what I'm saying? You look at Venom, the most famous symbiote, and he's pretty much a big black Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? It's a different entity than Spider-Man, but it's still of the same. That's what I look at when I look at Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm starting to talk out a little bit more about what I'm understanding. Mind you, I am not a researcher. I'm not like Ellie Leonard or Zev or an insider like Lev Parnas. I don't do, deep research like Rachel Maddow. I watch TV. And when I say that, I don't mean like I'm click. I'm not watching TV, but you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at a screen. And then, when I have a question about something clackety clack, I'm looking that up too. Because I don't trust you. I want to verify it. That's my favorite Ronnie Reagan joint, trust but verify. So as I'm starting to understand it, mind you, I'm not a journalist. I'm starting to understand that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was bringing Russian influence from the former USSR into Israel. That was his gig. You know what I'm saying? He got in Israel, and then that was his job. And as I understand, Ghislaine Maxwell was, I feel like it was maybe the money. Anyway, it was kind of like the tutelage. Like how you have Donald to Ivanka. You know what I'm saying? Ghislaine to her father was like that. She was in the tutelage of the business. I feel, as I understand, Ghislaine was assigned to Epstein because if you notice, there's always a partnership. There's a partnership. I mean, and I kind of think Charlie Kirk's an asshole, so I don't look too much into it. I despise evangelicism because it's based on such a core dishonesty that, I mean, what do? It's obvious that evangelicism is when colonizers meet faith. And when I say colonizers meet faith, I specifically mean in the South, where enslaved people took Africa and embraced the Middle Eastern Bible. That's what Southern faith is. You know what I'm saying? As we know it, Southern Christianity, Baptists and all that. With those people, what happened is the crooked Confederates, the colonizers, they took that mantle. Like we hear Republicans call themselves conservatives, they are not. They spend like crazy, they beat people up, they say dick fates things, and stuff like that. That's what they did. I think that's the base of white culture, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what can we take from this dead body and put on our body and pretend it's us? It's like a whole philosophy of bugs, Men in Black, right? It's like a whole philosophy of bugs where everybody in the Republican Party and votes Republican is wearing an Edgar suit. You know what I'm saying? And it's just rotten. It's just rotten and falling apart. Put an arm back on because that's where I put my arm. That's the way that I'm starting to see this evangelicalism. Anyway, so in our government, we have this multifaceted development because you look at what's in the White House, the way that they're running the White House. It's not Nazi Germany. It's Jim Crow. You know what I'm saying? We're doing separate but equal. But you got to go. You you got to go. So inside the White House, it's made of Confederates. I mean, almost by definition, by practice. Um, we the reason, it's not like the North and the South. We talk about the antebellum. It wasn't that the North and the South were like consciously different. You know what I mean? The people in the Confederate South, they were really into nepotism. They were really into their kin. They were really into their buddies. He's a good guy. See, this guy's a good guy. In New York, we know good fellas are mobsters and not to be trusted. You'll probably end up in a shallow grave in the Adirondacks. I live in the Adirondacks. Anyway, they aren't good people. They cheat, they lie, they give back handshake deals. That's why business went to the North, because people in the South as a practice weren't making sense. They were incestuous, and I don't mean that in the joke of like fucking your cousin in the trailer park kind of thing. I mean incestuous, meaning that they stayed in business with their own kind, their own flavor, their own swirl. We're up in New York, we were mingling. You know what I mean? We were mingling not intentionally, but I mean, you think about any place. I use the movie American History X as like a template. You know what I mean? You got your blacks, Hispanics, your white nationalists and all that stuff. But when you put everybody together, everybody's got to work together and survive. You could be a dick to 'em, but you're still utilizing that connection for your personal survival. So that's kind of why the North looked like it was so much more diverse. But I mean, I do gotta point out, like example, when I'm watching Bernie Mac, when I'm watching um drawing a blank, Steve Harvey, they both take place in and around Chicago. All Bernie Mac's California, but he's from Chicago. Where you at? Um, and you know, when you're listening to them talk about their stories of Chicago, what you're listening is a lot of Mississippi connections. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a train that ran from Mississippi into Chicago. So we think about the blues. And I think about Chicago blues. That's the way I think of it, because the only other kind of idea that I have, mind you, I'm from New York and I'm still learning. But the only other idea I have is like Slick Willie at a crossroads, blind Willie or whatever, trying to play a guitar, so he can be the blues man and sell his soul to the devil. That's in my head. Like that's that Southern blues, but my music brain, it doesn't go to that, finger picking stuff. It kind of goes up into the electric blues of Chicago, because I guess just that's me. You know what I'm saying? Where my ear goes. Um, But that's why people left the South. They left the South because they were just nasty motherfuckers, man. They were just jerk people, dicks to each other, and all that. Um, One of the things when I think about the South, you talk about the courtesy, the etiquette. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's so polite. Um, that isn't like a a craft that they says, like you hear about Minnesota Nights where everybody, oh well, it's not even like that. Black folks was afraid to get the fuck beat out of them if they weren't polite enough, if they didn't pull out a chair and tuck it in just right, if they didn't take off their hat and compliment a lady as she walked by, if they didn't put their head down and acknowledge somebody, you know what I mean, in a very genuine way. So when we think about the politeness that comes out of the South, it's because people didn't want to fucking die. You know what I'm saying? You think about that shit. People just didn't wanna fucking die. And that's where all that, uh, politeness comes out of. "Oh, bless your heart." It's double speak. I don't even use it anymore because once everybody knows the code, it's no longer a code, you know what I mean? You give a password for your computer, clack-a-da-clack, but if everybody knows your password is rubber band 123, you still using it? That's slang. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's communicative slang, you know what I mean, where you make somebody feel good. "Yo, B, that's cool," and I can't tell you how many children, I mean, little people, I've been like, "Yo, you are so cool." Then they put on their sunglasses upside down as always, and they're like, "Yeah," because cool is interpretive, but I make them feel cool. I use that slang word to make them feel cool. Cool meaning what? Mean chill. We've buzzworded it enough that when I tell a child that he is cool, I may have given him money. "Here, dog, you're cool." You know what I'm saying? We use words that don't mean words. We use, like, for example, communication is everything. Communication. I listen to a lot of, not so much lately, but I was listening to a lot of Questlove. You know what I mean? Like right now, how I'm watching Wajaha Ali and Ellie Leonard, like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. It was only Questlove. I'm calling everything, he's from Philly. I'm calling everything a John. "You give me that John over there?" I'm calling young dudes, young bulls, you know what I mean? Because 'Cause I'm just listening to all this Philly speak all the time, and I get caught up into that. And, I think about meaning. When I say, like, communication, if I'm saying, "Hey, hand me that John over there," I could be talking about the lamp, I could be talking about the book, I could be talking about the other half of your Pop-Tart that I wanted that you ate the last one. I'm just kidding, I can't do new pastries, you know what I mean? Like, the manufactured joints, they don't the sugar's weird, the texture's weird, you know what I mean? It's like they can call anything a flavor, but it's just sweet. Same thing with chips, they can call it any type of flavor, it's just salt. You know what I'm saying? Back to communication, back to using words, back to slang. Slang is so that people don't understand what you're saying. So I can speak to another person and be like, "Yeah, that thing, that time, that whatever." You know what I mean? I'm trying to invoke a hidden knowledge that the common parlance isn't gonna catch on to. You know what I mean? When we're listening to the words that they're using, and government stuff, Pam Bondi goes up there, she says words, and, we "Ha, ha, ha," we laugh, "That's so stupid, it's so dumb," you know what I mean? And then we hear the president go off, and he's at a thing, he's doing a signing, it's about stupid, and we lampoon it for an hour. He's communicating. He's not saying things. I mean, we're watching fucking Howdy Doody. This is Star Trek. This is Patterns of Force, where this incapacitated entity is the figurehead, and Stephen Miller is Melicon, this guy saying, "The boss says," and then he's going and doing his own will. Patterns of Force. It's an episode of Star Trek. It's the one famously where Spock and Kirk are wearing Nazi regalia so they can get in and talk to John Gill, Starfleet historian. They use buzzwords. They use trick words. They aren't talking to you. When you're watching The Bulwark, when you're watching Crooked, when you're watching MS Now, when they're talking about a right-wing nobody out of nowhere that you never heard of that said the thing and everybody in the Republican world is catching on, they're promoting that guy. That person does not exist in common parlance. When I call them, MSNBC people, they're like the people who are brainwashed like MAGA, but for this one channel that just gaslights. MS Now is not news. CNN is not news. MS Now, CNN, The Bulwark, Crooked, to an extent, Midas Touch, they're just this big circle jerk of watching each other. The Atlantic is the same thing. You know what I mean? All these major publications, major media sources that come in and and today we have our guest and we said this thing when it's really bullshit. The amount of time that Jon Favreau and Tim Miller have spent covering right-wing nobodies, because that's the world they live in, this cosmetic politics. Same thing with Sarah Longwell. She's trying to push us into Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, and just like Midas is pushing us into Gavin Newsom in California. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, Israel. Gavin Newsom's kicking homeless people off of benches. Gavin Newsom is selling freaking trans folks up the fucking river. Beep, beep. Josh Shapiro, I'm not saying nothing else. I just said his name. But the fact that the Republicans at the Bulwark are all about this cat. The Republicans, the ones that learned how to be a Republican from watching TV, want this dude, Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, to be the leader of our country. In case y'all haven't noticed it, I've been noticing for a minute. 2/3 of the United States is not white. 2/3. Now, anybody can register as white. If you watch the movie Grease, everybody was white. They were Italian, they were whatever. No, they were Hispanic. They're in fucking Southern California in the 50s. That's still Mexico, bitch. So you got all these Mexicans claiming whiteness. And just like right now, we're being white. And I say white, not as a nationality. I'm French, Italian, Irish, Scottish. I have European heritage. I know where I come from. That's an Italian ear. That's an Italian nose. I can cite my source. Calabria. Go. You'll see them. That's what heritage is. Whiteness is when the Etruscans were such devious rulers that the people who rebelled became the Roman nation and then the Roman Empire by stealing and usurping. Stealing and usurping. We talk about the Roman Empire like it was global. It was so vast. Do you know how big the Mediterranean Sea is? If you take the Mediterranean Sea out and you just put the land together, it's a lot less impressive. And this is what's running our everything. And then the Romans, they killed people to make them Christian. It wasn't a threat. People went along to get along. And now the Etruscans live live and direct in the Vatican, wearing their Etruscan robes with their Etruscan decorations. And the Pope wears the title of Caesar. Did the Roman Empire fall? No. But whiteness. Whiteness is the new vessel, because being Roman isn't impressive. Being Etruscan isn't impressive. You know what I'm saying? We're Christian now. So the Vatican influences all of our stuff. I listen to a lot of interviews with people of color. And the one thing they say is when they were in their white environments, they took away their joy, their song, their dance, their natural movements, their connections. And that's not wrong. We had TV, white America. White America was the parent that we suckled at the teat of. That's where when we go to our school and we'd open our books and we'd socialize, learn our history. George Washington doesn't lie. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. But when we look at the actual stuff, I learned by watching TV. I learned about Black culture by listening to KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane. I learned about and it's funny, I learned about 5% culture from rap music. The first time I heard a dude talking about it in real practice, like I was in, very mingled area, and dude was saying things. I'm hearing song lyrics, so I look at my dude and I say this thing, and a whole table stood up. And they said, "That's not you." But white people sold it to me. Hey, man, rap. It was not rap. Philosophy. We don't realize that before Robbie Van Winkle, you know what I'm saying? Vanilla Ice, black folks was talking to black folks. The cipher is part of the 5% culture, the cipher, the dialect, the language that they use. And what were we doing? We were turning it into a way so that Danny Tanner could wear baggy pants and look hip. You know what I'm saying? That's what white people do with culture. I didn't hear who said it, but I was watching Karen Hunter, and I know that's where I was thinking of it. Um, this one dude says, "Yeah, we've made everything in music. There's nothing more to make." And I'm like, "Is that why you fucking make music? Shit, I beatbox while I'm fucking making coffee. Shit, I'm singing Bruno Mars while I'm walking from the couch to the fridge." You know what I mean? And don't think that note isn't gonna be proper, and don't think I'm not gonna try it again if it isn't. Music, we made enough. When your existence is for creating currency and equity and not the expression of self, the aid, you know what I'm saying? We've lost our mycelium. Man, I really ran the gamut on what I was talking about. I'm a dip out because it's starting to be morning time. Folks are waking up. They're brushing their teeths. They're making their quick breakfast. They're packing their homeworks in the bags. I can hear everybody shuffling up there. Had to kick my good ear. Always on the left because my right's my good ear. Is that the line from Q-Tip? Anyway, we are in a world of seriousness right now. So much of it is intellectual seriousness. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when two people are talking about a thing, when I'm watching MSNBC, when I'm watching Crooked, when I'm watching Ezra Klein's mouth open and flap, 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 flap. Same thing with Chris Hayes. They're not talking about real things. They're talking about concepts. When they're talking about polls, they're talking about a couple hundred, thousand people. You think about how many people on Monday Night Raw and this week's AEW show and Friday Night SmackDown. That's three. That's three shows. If you give each of those 2 hours, that's 6 hours of a live gathering of people in a locale. And in that locale is a cross section of the area and the people around it. That is where you should go and interview and poll because it's everybody, cradle to grave. Everybody goes to watch the show. There's no demographic. There's no certain kind. It's everybody. But we still geek the fuck out when we watched, what's his name? Kornacki on MS Now when we watch him wear khakis. He watched khakis? They are khaki? There's a belt? They are on a man. And then everybody loves his polls. The fuck is a poll? A poll is when you go to work and you spend the day asking everybody to quit with you and then standing at the door the next day to see who actually did. You know what I'm saying? That's a poll. Now, when you go to a wrestling show, I don't mean that independent joint where there's 50 people and you probably got to help them take care of the ring. I'm talking about WWE. I'm talking AEW. I'm talking when you're sitting in the crowd and you can feel that pyro, boom, and you're on the other end of the arena. That is who I'm talking about. That's America. That's about as American as rap music. You know what I'm saying? The wrestling culture So when I'm listening to polls, when I'm listening to Bulwark, when I'm listening to Crooked, when I'm listening to MS Now, Steve Kornacki, that's that cat's name, and we hype these people up. You're so, I love them. You're so awesome. They're not. They're performing. If you genuinely, and I'm saying this, Sarah Longwell Group, I'm saying this, Tommy Vitor. Is Tommy the pole guy? Polar coaster? Yeah. Go to a fucking wrestling show. They happen. Shit. I just said 3 shows. Monday is Raw. Tuesday. I don't. Anyway, Wednesday is Wednesday. Okay, yeah. Monday is Raw. Tuesday is NXT. Wednesday is AEW. I think maybe TNA is on AMC on Thursday. I may be making that up. It just happened. I haven't watched it live. But then Friday, you have SmackDown. 5. That is 10 hours of different locations on the United States map where a person who genuinely gave a fuck about what people thought, what does the people around here think? You go to a fucking wrestling show and you ask the people, like tens of thousands of people, is that better than your 40, 50, 100 people that you polled? Where basically you're putting an ad and saying, I want a MAGA guy. I want a MAGA guy who voted for Biden this one time. No, I want this Kamala Harris person who voted for Kamala Harris, who voted for Donald Trump, who wrote in Donald Duck the time previous and really liked Bill Clinton. I want this character. It's like putting an ad in the paper for a niche bit player. Like if somebody wanted some jamoke from upstate New York, you get this guy. I would show up with a Stewart's coffee in my hand and maybe a J. We don't do information right. And I'm kind of going off again because I like spinning out. I was trying to let y'all go at 14. That was 5 minutes ago. And I like spinning out. We give our attention to people who do not know what the fuck they're talking about. And I don't mean they're not good people. I don't mean they're not intelligent. I don't mean that they don't have connections and intellect and lots of stuff that I don't know. I don't know a lot. But we give our whole direction of how we vote to these people on Crooked, on Bulwark, on MS Now, on CNN, to an extent Midas. I'm sorry on Midas. I'm sorry, man. For anytime they have somebody cool, then I see Ben Popak in them, and I'm just like, they're no different than me. They should be different than me. They're educated. They have credentials. They're lawyers. They have actual jobs. I'm a laborer. I'm a monkey. I practice logistics at a warehouse 3 days a week. You know what I'm saying? I'm not impressive, but I'm not impressed with them either. Yeah, I'm dipping out. I guess I just kind of jumped into a morning show because at this time when I'm tired of watching all the same shit, same clips, Pamela Bondi, Pamela Bondi, Pamela Bondi. And then you see the outrage clips. Oh, Trump just got owned. And then you see these and these and these. And you see all those faces. And then you press play. And it's not. I'm calling you out, Keith Edwards, Jack Cocherella, David Pakman, Adam Mockler. Adam Mockler is better than what we get out of him. You know? Hey, I'm a big fan of Allison Gill. I actually audibly said it out loud, so I guess now it's a solid thought. But, like, I love Allison Gill. I love the Daily Beans. I would wake up every morning still wiping sleepies from my eyes, and I would find the Patreon on my phone, and I would press play, and I would hear news with swearing, and I'd be like, hells yeah. Allison Gill's voice was the first voice I'd hear every morning. And then she did a video show. I haven't listened to the Daily Beans long form since. Maybe if it was I wanted to hear a John Fugelsang. But I mean, I'm getting away from Allison Gill. I'm getting away from the podcast form of information. Even watching YouTube vids, I'm like, is it worth it? So I'll kind of do along the timeline to see when something new comes into the conversation. Bros, we're listening to Substack. We're plugging into direct source information. We're talking to people. And when I say people, me, I'm an information nut. If you don't have something new, eh, I'll find somebody that has something new because I want to hear new stuff. I don't even listen to music over and over because I'm like, I already know this one, you know? Um, but on Substack, I'm listening to conversations that are not news oriented. I'm listening to conversations that are emotion oriented, that are creative oriented, relationship oriented. I mean, and even though my focus is, you know what I'm saying, the news, the everyday, the global, the conspiracy, I'm connecting with people. I'm highly socially awkward. You get me around me, I look like Candace from Phineas and Ferb. I got squirrels in my pants, and I say weird shit. But through Substack, I'm interacting with people. I'm talking to people. I'm getting that empathy transfer. It is one of the coolest things. I'm like I said, I'm a conspiracy guy. My favorite conspiracy is John Titor, time traveler from 2036. In it, I mean, 1998. Yeah, I feel like the facts were set in 99. So in 1998, this dude John Titor started showing up on IRC chats, claiming to be from the year 2036. He he didn't trust box stores. How do you trust these people? You don't know where this stuff came from. But like he'd be on there and people were asking him, "How do you watch TV?" This is 98. And he goes, in the future, we don't watch TV. We record ourselves. Mind you, this is 98. YouTube was created in 2005. We don't watch TV. We record ourselves and we watch that. Now we got YouTube. Now we got TikTok. We got Substack. My big gripe about, and I've written about it, Americana, which is what I call the op. You know what I mean? Americana, the world of the future. You know what I mean? That's us in our black and white days with our nostalgic rocket ship cars and their design and all that stuff. And everything was beep, boop, boop, futuristic, but retro. Love it, actually. It's kind of a neat era for design. You know what I'm saying? But what Americana did is it reset us. When we talk about white culture, we're talking about what we saw on television. Do you know what I'm saying? Like prior to that, it was a reason to hate. I mean, me talking about how we're not in the Nazi Germany, we're in Jim Crow of 1877. That era. I wasn't white. I wasn't white. I was Italian. I was Irish. I was Scottish. I couldn't go in buildings just like dogs and black folks couldn't go in. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't white 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Or in 18 whatever. It's funny to think about that stuff because, I mean, yeah, I glow. Summertime, shirt comes off, people kind of squint as they approach me until I get that first kind of darkening. Americana's an op. Leave It to Beaver was an op. Until we had shows like I Spy, you know, with like Bill Cosby, until we had shows like Julia, where she was a black lead woman. You know what I'm saying? We had shows like the Mod Squad, uh, Dukes of Hazzard. I smile at Dukes of Hazzard, man, because it would be a different show in 2026. Oh my God, would it be a different show in 2026? But um, I learned tolerance watching the Dukes of Hazzard. You know what I'm saying? I learned tolerance. Like I like in my head, I almost imagined there was an episode where they had like a black friend and everybody was like cool about it, and they were like, "Hey, what the fuck?" But I could be making that up because it was that era. In the 70s, that's what you get. You know what I mean? You have you're set. The one episode where people of color would be around and they want you to know, hey man, you're cool. Be cool. You know? Um, but Americana was not. And then you ended up with they realized that in the late 80s and 90s that blackness could be exploited, and it was exploited and sold to white America, you know what I mean? And so it was sold as a trend, and so we didn't pick it up. We just knew that white suburban America really liked it when black folks were angry and said the N-word, so Scantron made sure that that's the music that got played, and that's what brought us, like Puff and Jay-Z and, Coastal Wars. You know? Um, I feel like upstate New York, dude, rap wasn't me, but I was into A Tribe Called Quest. I was into Native Tongue. I know that I specifically cite the Jungle Brothers as my bridge to go over to house music from rap because house music now I know, house music is my church. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't explain it to people that have a religion, but house music is my church. Yes, the disco. Um, but because that is the most unifying. Hey, now that I'm jumping on that, man, don't get me spinning. Of course, I'm talking to myself, so I guess I'm spinning myself. House music. In the beginning, there was Jack, and Jack had a groove. And from that groove came the groove of all grooves. And while one day viciously throwing down on the spot, Jack rolled up and declared, "Let there be house." And house music was born. Y'all don't get that. But I can tell you that from those words coming from my body, I'm getting tingly. I'm getting a little bit of sweat when you see it come up in my music playlist, and all of a sudden, in the beginning, there was Jack. My eyes well up. And you want to know why? Because you may be black, you may be white, you may be Jew or Gentile, but once you enter my house, then becomes our house and our house music. And that's the place that I go to live, in the house, in our house music. I am Nick G. I'm a dude on the couch. Weird one. If you're gonna blame, wait, gonna blame. Let's explore that. I was gonna leave. What are we blaming? I am Nick G. I want you to believe in me. I want you to plant me because I grow. So what would you blame me for? For wishing you to have a good day. You can blame me when your good day starts and your good day finishes. And you can be like, I just had a great day. I want you to be, Nick must have done that because I did. Blame me. Blame it on the rain. But you just blame me. If you're going to believe in something, why not believe in me?